Cool. All right. Well, welcome to the DDM Podcast. This is only the second time I've had to do the intro, so we're good. But I'm here with Mike Power, and as always, Jelani Winston. All right. So, Mike, I know I already asked you this, but let's do it again.
It's totally cool.
Give them the 2-minute elevator speech, real quick.
You
on
got
who
it.
You are.
So my name's Mike Power. I'm 23 years old, and I'm from Long Island, New York. Born and raised. I've been drifting ever since 2016. Been into cars ever since like 2013, 14. It's been a wild ride. I really enjoy drifting so much, and I've really had the best years of my life this past couple years doing drifting and hanging out with all my friends. But this year we're doing Pro 2, and I'm super excited to get into that and see what that has, what we're going to be able to do with that, and hopefully meet some goals that I set for myself, and just have a good old year, meet new people, and get more experience under my belt. But,
Absolutely.
Just trying to kill it.
Yeah. So when we talked, you had driven the same chassis since you started. I know you're getting into a new one now for Pro 2, but I guess what changes did you make from starting to drift to Pro-Am? And what were the big changes you made in the car?
For sure. So the car that, as I was saying before, the car that I drove all of last year was my first drift car. I got it when I was 17. I started pretty simple with it. I really focused on the safety aspect of the car because I really believed I wasn't going to be comfortable pushing myself unless I knew that the car was safe. So actually the chassis, when I first bought it, was crashed in the front. So we ended up tubing it out. I put a cage in it, and then, just all the safety stuff along that. But the S13 was pretty simple when I first started driving. It was stock SR20 power. Nothing crazy with drivetrain or anything like that. Just good suspension and all the supporting modifications to have a good day at the track. But as the years went on, I was looking to get into get a little bit more serious with it, and so I ended up modifying the SR20, making some decent power out of it. That was for 2017, and then going into 2018, I decided I wanted to start competing, and we made a huge jump and pretty much redid the whole entire car. 2J swap, 4-speed, quick change, wide stab, all the things that you'd expect in a modern day competition car. So it was like that for 2018. 2019, basically the same exact setup, just revisited some things that were, done a little bit quickly, down and dirty. So we just freshened it up again for 2019 with paint and body kit and some more safety stuff. But yeah, so now my little S13 is out of commission for a while. So yeah. She won't be around for a while until I have time and money to fix it.
Right. Yeah.
What was your local drift series you started driving in?
So I first got my start in drifting with Club Loose in Englishtown, New Jersey. And, they're a great group of guys, super professional, and they really love to have a good time and party at the track. Got my start with them, and that was for the first 2 years of my drifting career. And then into 2018, we took on the U.S. Drift Pro 2 Shootout. That was at Hyperfest. Mm-hmm. So we did that, and that was the only competition series that was really available in 2018. So we did it. Didn't really do as well as we wanted to, but I got exactly what I wanted out of it. Got my feet wet with competing, and that's when I knew. I was like, yep. I was like, I'm going to get better at my car, and then 2019, just going to go full swing and try and do as many as I can.
Nice. So how many series did you do in 2019?
2019, we did 4. We started out with US Drift again with another shootout that they did at Dominion Raceway in Virginia. And then straight from, right after Virginia, it was about a month, and then we went out to Sonoma, California. So we drove all the way from New York to California, competed at Sonoma, and then we raced our way home. So we were in Sonoma, and then on our way home, we stopped in with Vegas Drift, and they had a competition round at Pikes Peak International Raceway. So we did a shootout there as well. And then we were home for 2 weeks after that, and then we did the Midwest Drift Union shootout. All of them were really fun.
Interesting.
That's cool.
So you kind of have a different, I guess you got a little bit of taste of everything in the different side of the country.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I basically got to see all of it.
So did you notice any difference in styles or anything when you traveled to the different parts of the country?
So when I went out to California, so Virginia, like I'm pretty comfortable with like what type of cars are out here. You'd expect like kind of like a nice mix between like not club loose, like grassroots cars, and then like a step up from grassroots cars, and then like straight pro-am to pro style cars. Right. And then that was pretty familiar to me, and that's what I expected going into US Drift. But when we went to Sonoma for the Sonoma Drift shootout, there were a lot of serious cars there, like a lot of like professionally built cars. And it was pretty refreshing to see, because I was like, wow, I was like, these guys are like really trying to get it. Like they're all trying to get into Pro 2, and these people are definitely dedicated. It just felt like they were just as dedicated as I was to be at that race. So that was super cool to see. There were a couple cars in there that were like a little bit under like competition style cars, but the amount of talent that was out there was really nice to see as well. You know, traveling somewhere else and wondering what their driving is like out there. It was really cool to see how many great drivers there were there. And same goes with like Colorado. There were Vegas Drift in Colorado. There were a lot of pro style cars, but there were also some, just some grassroots cars that were like just higher horsepower cars.
So would you say the
Midwest? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so
go
would
ahead.
you say the highest dollar cars were in California?
I would say California and Midwest Drift Union, because there were a couple people that came from like Canada to Midwest Drift Union, and they had some high dollar cars. But I would say it was pretty close between Midwest Drift Union and Sonoma. Sonoma, there were like ex Pro 1 cars there that like people bought from drivers, so it was pretty crazy.
Pretty cool.
So what was your favorite event out of all of them, or favorite track, or best battles?
Oh, dude. So my favorite track by far was Sonoma. It was such a beautiful place. The facility and the track was just so nice. It was like, it's a real racetrack. Like we go to racetracks all the time, but Sonoma was like pretty much like the realest track I've ever been to. And the layout they had, it was so fast and it was so demanding. Like, you really had to be about it, or else you weren't going to do good at all. So I really liked that, because I was pushing myself to get better and better that day. And, it made me really happy at the end of the day, looking back. Like, I was scared as shit to drive this track, and now, like, I feel really comfortable. So that's really cool. But battle-wise, I'd say some of the greatest battles were in Ohio with Midwest Drift Union. Mm-hmm. Midwest Drift Union had the weirdest layout. I mean, it was good. It was really challenging. I just had such a hard time getting into the groove there in the beginning on the first day of practice. But as we got more comfortable, we set the car up properly. It was such a cool layout because it was super fast. It was a huge left sweeper, and then like a switchback on the back straight of the oval, and then you hit the wall, and then came down into the infield, and it got super tight and really technical. So that made for really good tandem battles, because you were seeing people go super fast, and then in the infield they were just literally on top of each other. I've had some really close calls.
That track offers really good tandem battles all the time. Like,
oh yeah,
always good battles there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was great to see, and it was also an awesome experience. I've never had so many people close to my door all year. And Midwest Drift Union, there were a bunch of people getting there, so it was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. You think you'll ever go back to the shootouts just to practice, or keep on getting some comp practice or anything?
So I've thought about it, because like like Pro 2, you could really, there's only 4 events, but at the same time, I did 4 events last year, and that felt like enough to me. And I could have just done fun events in between if I wanted more driving. Doing another shootout would be so much fun just because I really love the way that they do the competition. No qualifying, 40 driver cap, and then double elimination. But thinking about it, I would really hate to go there and, come top 3 and already have a license and, take the chance away from someone getting their license. So, like, last year when I saw there were a couple Pro 2 guys that were going to do the shootouts, I was a little butthurt about it. I was like, so what are they going to do? They're going to, like, just come win and, one of these kids or myself, like, if we got knocked out and came to, like, 4th place or something and they came top 3, So I didn't really like the idea of going back to a shootout just because I would love to give an up-and-coming driver the chance to get their Pro 2 license.
Okay.
Now, a different side of it is you guys got to play gatekeeper because you got to keep all of you got to make sure all the talent coming in is working for it,
Yeah, that is definitely, I definitely agree with that. But
I think
there's a lot of people Pro 2.
I think it's a motivator because, say, like you said, you had a chip on your shoulder and you still went and got it, Yeah. So it's going to push you a little bit harder because you're like, all right, cool, this guy's already got his license. He's coming back. He thinks he's going to club some baby seals or something like that. But
exactly.
That's not the case.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a motivator for guys like you, like, because you still went and got it,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because the same thing happens to you when you go up into the Pro 1. It's like, first time you decide to step up in the Pro 1 and you draw Odie Bakchis right out of the top 32. You're like, oh, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah,
I totally get what you mean. It kind of separates the boys from the men.
Yep, because Odie and Frederick Osbo and all those dudes made a name for themselves smiting giants. I remember 2010, Frederick Osbo came in with a stock JDM twin turbo 2JZ and that Supra on E85, factory twins on it with like Megan suspension and everything. And Vaughn was on a tear that whole year, podium in every round. Monster just partnered with Monster Energy, new livery. Like he just had like all the momentum. And freaking Osbo took him out in Seattle in a 450 horsepower Supra.
Yeah,
dude, I want to do that. I want to be that guy.
Right. Yep. And then same thing for Odie. Odie coming, privateer program, real small, real simple car, and he did it all with suspension tuning and driving consistency and everything. So that's what really separates the people from. Matt Field came in a Pro 1 in the S13 with an SR20 and a big wing on like MB battles.
That's so badass.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing too is the only thing is Pro 2 is 4 rounds, but if
you got to think about the amount of driving you get in the practice is it's nothing.
Really not that much. It's nothing.
If you don't make it into the top 16, you'd be lucky to turn 6 laps.
Yeah.
And that's like including qualifying.
Yeah, that's insane.
And that's the biggest problem I've seen.
Yeah, too. That being said, we're going to do a lot of preseason testing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And then the biggest advice I could give you is do a lot of preseason testing, and in between rounds, definitely, even if it's not the shootout, because I get where you're coming from too. Like I totally understand that. Definitely drive with people with comparable cars as much as you can between the rounds, which obviously you do. So, but I think that was one of the mistakes we made. Is even when we went out and did testing and stuff like that, and we drove No Star Bash and we did all these other events, there wasn't people with comparable cars, so you couldn't really open it up.
Yeah.
Really like practice the consistency and slowing it down and picking speed back up because you're just driving with the homies.
Yeah.
And the homies all didn't have Samsung sequentials and they weren't driving on sticky tires.
Yeah.
So you would think like, oh man, we drove No Star Bash and the car did good and you felt great, and then you get back out to the track and everything and you're like,
damn.
Oh man, we weren't doing 100 mile an hour in No Star Bash.
Yeah, no.
What setup do we use?
Right.
Yeah, but that's cool, man. I'm glad you enjoyed the shootouts. A lot of people were indifferent, I guess you could say, about the concept of the shootout and how it was going to work, kind of taking the place of Pro-Am series.
Yeah.
I think best case scenario is that the series, like US Drift as a series, will come back still, and have the shootouts going on. So
That
I
would
feel
be
like,
great.
yeah, 'cause that's kind of what was happening when I first discovered Pro-Am. You had MBU and all the comps, and they still had the big bash events and stuff like that, GT Live and Hyperfest and XTC and Pro-Am Nationals where you could go and earn your license. But I think the shootouts are working pretty good. I'm glad to hear you're like the 100th person I've heard, so they really enjoyed it. So
Yeah, it was great, but at the same time, I totally understand what you mean by, they're kind of replacing these series, and these people, like even including myself, like I could have just done Sonoma, gone home, and then got ready and hopped in Pro 2, but you're not going to be prepared for Pro 2. No way. I'm still a little worried with the experience that I have getting into Pro 2, and I'm sure that learning curve is going to be, it's going to be a big curve getting into Pro 2, but, I'm ready to do that. But at the same time, that's why I was like, all right, you know what, we're going to do the shootout, but I want to do all the shootouts. So I'm going to turn it into my own series. So that's why we hit every single shootout that there was last year. We just made sure that we could. There still are a couple series, though. There's, what was it, East 10?
East 10's really good. It's pretty competitive.
Yeah, exactly.
And Clutch Kickers now.
Yeah, Clutch Kickers is huge, but I don't know if they're going to take on the whole licensing thing.
They probably won't.
Even if they didn't, I feel like if you were an up-and-coming driver and you wanted to really go hone your skills, regardless of not earning a license, I mean, that's probably the biggest talent pool next to a shootout. I mean, maybe even more than a shootout because of the cash prize.
You literally have pro guys showing up.
Yeah, you got the best of the YouTube drivers, the best of the Pro 2 drivers are all doing it too. Some of the top Pro 2 guys are jumping in.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a good place to go hone your skills too.
Oh, hell yeah.
How you stack up.
And the track is set up good too. It's not a super demanding track, so you can really just focus on driving your car.
Right.
You're not focusing too much on how the track layout is and stuff like that. It's simple in that way, so these people actually get the chance to push their driving abilities with the car instead of like trying to get used to the track and trying to figure out the car for the track.
It's nice because it's a low risk track too. I feel like sometimes in Pro-Am you end up with a lot of high risk tracks where you can injure your car, so it might hold you back a little bit too. Obviously.
I mean, I wish I held back just a little bit.
Yeah. So it's cool to have a track, a venue that you can really go and just like get wild and not have to worry about fatalitying your build.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think Pro-Am's in a good space right now. It's, barring everything that's going on, like you look at the economy and what's going to happen with going forward after this COVID stuff. I think the shootouts would be a little bit easier on the budget than the series, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'd be cool.
Yeah. But I like what you did, though, is you still traveled to 4 rounds and got the full experience.
Mm-hmm.
And you understood what it took to run a program. And all the travel costs and doing all that stuff. And that was the big thing that people were complaining about that they replace, is that you don't learn that experience.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, I'm sure during comp, tons of things happen, things break, and so the more experience that you have, whether it's fixing your car under a deadline or just changing setups on the fly, stuff like that, is a really big key to learning when you go into Pro 2, because in Pro 2 you don't get second chances.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So I was really grateful to have that experience because, it covered a lot of little things that you really don't think about until you're on the road doing it. Mm-hmm. And we were traveling to the other side of the country. I couldn't have my crew come out with me because they all have real jobs and stuff like that. So I literally had to source a crew in California, source a crew for Colorado, and the same thing for Ohio. I did have one of my crew guys come out with me to Ohio, but it was crazy. It was just it was nice being able to, it was stressful figuring everything out like that, but at the same time I know what to expect if for say some reason I couldn't get somebody to come to the track this year, I can handle it. I know how to resource the stuff that we need to do good at the track.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Hey Nate, is your video stuff working?
Your video has stopped working, but I hear you.
Yeah, same. I can hear you guys, but mine's not working.
He's a statue.
Yeah, I see it cutting out just a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna end the call and jump back in.
All right, sounds good. But yeah, and then once he comes back, I just cut and put it back together and go.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but yeah, cool. I guess we can kind of go into the new build. We can talk about just basics that have helped you learn and get better. All right, let's see what's going on here. Oh, there he is, and he's back.
Yep. Shady's back.
Yeah.
Back again.
Right. Yeah, that's cool though. Yeah, you definitely go through some adversity and stuff like that, having to travel. That's definitely a big aspect for people to take into account when they're planning on really getting serious about competing and stuff, making sure the rig's reliable, being prepared, bringing the right tools, spare parts and stuff like that. And then like you brought up the crew.
Yeah.
Having a group of guys that can also have the time off work that's required to do this stuff that's like the hardest part. It's finding somebody just to work on your car that can also get the time off work.
Yeah, exactly. Just someone that can come with us. That's a challenge in its own.
Yeah, because like I've crewed for a lot of people, and I've lost money pretty much crewing for people, even though I get paid sometimes.
Yeah.
Because like you factor in the days off of work. If I take 2 days off work to go run Pro 2, I make enough money at work that whatever somebody's usually willing to pay me doesn't offset that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm still taking a loss here, but I'm having fun. So whatever.
Yeah, it is an enjoyable experience most of the time. So you do it's kind of like a give and take.
Mm-hmm.
I've crewed for free out of sheer boredom. Like I've really bought my own flights and stuff like that just because I'm like, I'd rather be at the track and doing this than sitting around the shop. So
yeah, I totally feel you.
Yeah. Or if it's especially like going to FD Atlanta, I'm like, usually I'm going to go to Atlanta anyway because Atlanta's rowdy. So
yeah, exactly.
Like, might as well crew.
Yeah, well, I got to go. So
yeah, I haven't missed an Atlanta round. I quit a job over an Atlanta round one time. I was working in a factory while I was in school when they had like a points-based vacation system. And I was getting a point back that I could use like the day I would needed to take it off for Atlanta. So I go in to the office or whatever, and I'm like, hey, I'm taking a point this day. And they're like, okay. So the day comes around, and they're like, oh, actually, you can't take a point the same day you like get it back. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, you can only use that the next day. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to Atlanta tomorrow. So they're like, yeah, you can't do that because you'll lose your job. And I was like, oh no, I can do it. I'm going to Atlanta tomorrow. They're like, you know what this means? I'm like, it was nice working here.
Oh, man.
It's like,
well, I gotta go. I'm gonna go.
Right. I was like, I don't really need this job. I kind of only work here because I'm lazy. Like, I make enough money working out of my garage that I'll be okay. So,
yeah. For sure.
But yeah, the crew stuff is really hard. Like, and then finding somebody too that has a little bit of experience and like high stress. Because that first competition 5-minute you call, whoo.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's a lot of uncertainty, and then like you really got to be particular about it at FD. You got to make sure you read the rules on the 5-minute because if one of your boys jumps in and touches the cars too soon, like you're screwed.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of have the jack ready, have everything ready, have the tools ready, have everything ready, and it's like, all right, 5, like I'm in, and like get in there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely a different animal with the crew thing. I remember talking with Garrett, like. I met Garrett, and he told me he was moving from Rhode Island. He wanted to compete. And we built his car. We built it together, but we built this car, and we get to the track. And then the first thing I tell him once we built the new car with the 2J and all that stuff, it was similar to yours.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you can't work on this anymore at the track. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, me, John, Corey, like, we got to work on it. You don't get to touch it when it's at the track. When it's at home and it's in the garage, like, yeah, you go over and do whatever you want to do, but at the track, like, you're not allowed to put hands on the car. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, get used to it, man. You want to be a pro driver, that's what it's like. Like,
yeah,
you got to make sure that you trust your crew working on your car, and you can't touch it.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to focus on driving.
Yeah, that, and well, the thing is if you're really trying to make it and have the longevity, you got to walk around to the vendors and go to the Turbo by Garrett booth and talk to Garrett Turbo, and go to DC and talk to DC, and go to your coilover vendor if they're there at the track, and go stand at the Nexon booth and hand out hero cards and stuff like that, and shake hands and take pictures with everybody and do your autograph signings and all that. So it's like, you can't just be bumming around. It's not like a grassroots.
Exactly.
You can't just be bumming around your canopy, chilling. Like, you got to go out and network and shake hands and talk to some of these vendors and stuff and try to set up relationships. Like before, they said you couldn't have vape sponsors anymore. You have all the vape dudes there, and like those companies are making money.
Oh yeah.
So it's like we go every round and come back with a goodie bag of like vape juices. I don't even think like air fresheners and everything.
Whatever.
Yeah, all these companies wanted to work with you, and you're like, yeah, man, they see Forrest Lang with the huge Vape Tasia logo, and they're like, oh, that could be us. So you gotta take advantage of all that time, and so yeah, you can't be there changing your own tie rods and worrying about your toe and stuff like that. You gotta tell your boys like, hey, man, it felt good like this. Here's the spare parts. I'll be back.
Yeah. Get it done. Let me know when it's ready.
Yep, make them earn their keep. So I feel like a lot of people don't know that. They don't think about that stuff before they go in, that like you need to have a crew that's so tight that you can walk away from the car and come back and know that when it's time to go back out on track, like
you're
it's
good
ready.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
It's hard.
That.
It's hard coming from grassroots and trying to
be your only crew is yourself. Right. Crew and driver, that's a lot.
That's a lot. So it's cool. I think it presents some challenges outside of the driving that I think really separates the dudes who are really going to get it and the guys who are going to struggle a little bit, but they might get it too. So it's fun. It's a cool journey. I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, I appreciate that. I think we're going to have a really good year. I've surrounded myself with some really trustworthy people, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Another topic which I think is really good to get into with you is your car has always looked amazing. Like your coupe looks amazing. So you got an S15 now. The bar is up really high. The bar is up there, man. LZ's got a nice S15. Obviously, Forrest and Odie's in one now. There's a lot of S15, so everybody has really nice ones. But the importance of making your car presentable and making the fans fall in love with your car. I think a lot of people take that for granted. And I think when you have the driving and the looks, it's the best case scenario. Like
of course.
People really don't understand. Like when we were in Pro-Am and stuff, Garrett's car looked so good. Like people wanted to, if the driving was there, the team looked professional, the car looked good, we looked professional. The car looked good. It really helps to make it easier for you to get sponsored. So on your side of things, have you had any positive things happen to you just off of, what do you think, just the looks of the car and the presentation that you bring with the shirts, the merch, the car? Like, you have any stories about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, drifting to me, when I first got into it, I really just loved how some of these cars looked. And, of course, there's a lot of cars in drifting that, like, they look like a bag of shit, but people just want to drive. So getting into it, I really focused on, I want to have fun driving, obviously. I want to make sure all the time I spend at the track, I'm learning how to drive and learning how to get better with my car. But at the same time, I want to enjoy how it looks and, have fun with the stylish aspect of it. And I really love the idea of people enjoying watching my car drive and seeing their reactions. So, just this year alone, every time we took the car out of the trailer, there was usually about, anywhere from 5 to 10 people just walking right up to the car and just wanting to check it out. Whether or not they're looking for secrets or, just trying to figure out what my car's running, or they just enjoyed it. I got a lot of great feedback from a lot of people over this past year. Just really tell me that they enjoy the car, and then I love that. And then they end up coming back after I was driving. They're like, "Damn, you could drive it too." I was like, I guess so. I really love seeing people enjoying the style aspect that we put into the car, and not to mention the little kids. Oh man, it makes me so happy when a little kid loves my car. We were in Midwest Drift Union, and these two young kids, they kept on walking up to my car with their parents, And every single time in between me doing a battle, when I was in like the paddock waiting to get onto the track, these two kids are standing next to my car. And we were just shooting the shit, having fun. I let one of the kids start up my car. I was like, hey, push this button, push the button. And he started up the car, and just seeing how appreciative the parents were that I was hanging out with the kids and having a good time. But really, I was getting the most enjoyment out of the whole thing because just seeing these little kids glow up on loving the car, it just made me feel really good about what I've been doing and all the hard work that goes into building a car like that, and not to mention building it so it's presentable and people enjoy it. I hope I kind of spark these kids, spark something in the back of the head, like, I want to do this one day, and I want to get a drift car. I want to have a cool drift car like Mike Power. And
Right.
I believe that's really important because for our sport to keep growing and just get bigger and bigger, I really think we got to think about the kids because I'd rather have a kid go home from a racetrack and look up drift cars on the internet and YouTube than hop on a video game and just play Call of Duty and shit. It gives kids an opportunity to learn something for themselves and enjoy it, and you never know, they can make a future out of it.
Yeah, and I think in Japan they're saying like the average drifter age in Japan is like 30-year-old dudes like me. There's not a lot of young kids getting into it, which is kind of a shame because you end up going the route of some of these other motorsports where once the people who are currently running it, go on and move on to other things, then what happens after that. So we definitely got to keep bringing the younger generation in. Have you noticed any another thing? Well, I noticed, and you probably can attest to it too, is like media guys just want to take pictures of your car. They want to shoot your car. They want to give you content and stuff like that. And then you'll see some of the guys with, I don't want to talk trash or beat down on them, but the dudes with some of the not so nice put together cars and stuff will complain and say, oh, how come there were no photos of my car after this event? And it's like nobody wants to showcase their amazing photography skills
on a car that they feel like some people might not want to look at. So yeah, that kind of touches back on the whole thing, like people getting excited about it. I've been so fortunate enough to really meet a lot of great people, just like you guys and him, just because I get hit up like, hey, like I got this photo of you, I got these videos of you, and I'm always like, dude, I was like, it always blows my mind how good these media guys are that go to the track, and most of them aren't even getting paid. They're just going out there just to shoot an event, and they just give back some great content. And I really hope that a lot of these dudes who are putting in that time, I wish for all of them to get bigger and bigger, and next thing you know, they're getting like endorsement deals and working with companies to get that content.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I can tell you it's growing, and
I believe it.
I'm not making a living quite yet, and obviously there's no events for the near future, but but it's I can attest. I've put work in, and now I can go to FD and not lose money.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it that way for right now. But and that's the cool thing too. But taking pictures of the nice cars. It's always going to be what people are going to want to do. Why do people, you think, want to go to Final Bout?
Yeah.
Like, I'll make a Final Bout video for free because it gets tons of views. Like the last video I made got like 40,000 views, I think, or something like that. But it's just stuff like, when you put the nice looking cars together, people love it, and that's
of course.
And that's kind of important to me because you're kind of incorporating a couple different avenues, and that's why Final Bout's so big. Is because it kind of incorporates the like Stan's car scene, I guess, car show scene. That's what I'm looking for. The car show scene with the drifting scene, and it creates a bigger market, and that's where I feel like FD is kind of missing out, is they're not really hitting those markets because, well, you've seen an FD car, so but you're able to keep the styling of your car look like a good car still. From the videos I've seen, I really like the car too, and I just hope doing something similar for the S15. I don't know if you can
Don't
go
worry.
into it.
I heard the S15.
Don't worry.
I heard the S15 is going to be like 16 inches off of the ground on Rockstar wheels.
Yeah, we're actually running rally suspension. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're definitely keep pulling the stylish ideas out of the book that I have and that I've been using for the past couple of years. You know, it's something that I really enjoyed, like I've been saying. So, you know, it wouldn't be a car of mine if it didn't look good. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
if my car looked like shit, I wouldn't be happy about it. I would literally just look at it, and I probably wouldn't treat it the same as a car that I've owned that looks better. You know, I enjoy working on these cars and taking a step back and looking at it. I'm like, yep. I'm like, I did that. We did that. This is crazy. You know, I'm really enjoying it. So yes, the S15. I know the bar is high, but we're definitely gonna, you know, be at that bar, if not higher.
Nice.
Yep.
And that's definitely a promise.
So, where do you get your inspiration from?
It's funny because, you know, over the years, you know, I've gotten a lot of inspiration from, you know, people in Japan and, you know, just local friends who really spend the time to make a stylish car or just make something that they really enjoy, and, you know, something that, same thing, they could take a step back and really love what they built. You know, I've always had like a similar style. You know, I love black. I've never liked like colors. Like, I can't do color schemes because I get tired of them. But, you know, there's not really anywhere where I've been that I could say like, oh, that's where I found my style and that's where I decided like that's what I'm going to do. It's just been evolving over the years, and I've been seeing things that I liked here and there, and then I end up incorporating them. But yeah, it's pretty much just me keeping an eye on all these cool stylish cars and all the new builds that are coming out that are just really cool, and I just love to incorporate things. I'm like, oh, that would be sweet. So I always have it stuck in the back of my head. I'm like, I'm going to have to do it or else it'll drive me crazy now.
Nice.
Yep.
So,
battle of the so's. Rock, paper, scissors, let's go. Go on, Nate.
all right. So, what? I don't even remember the question now.
I'm winning. So, what took you to MA Motorsport? What made you choose to go with them? Obviously, they're like legends as far as like competitive drifting goes. But like, you know, you built your last car. What made you this time say, you know what? I need to go to the sensei and see what's up.
So over the years, I've had a lot of help from a bunch of shops. I've developed some really good relationships over the years with a lot of people that put their hands on my car. When we first did the Pro-Am stuff, we were working with Freedom Motorsports in Exton, Pennsylvania. They were a great group of dudes, and they really busted their ass to get my car in, you know, competition shape. But going into 2019, I figured, you know, I'll take on the chassis as my own, just because, you know, a lot of other people that are growing their shop, sometimes they can't really put everything aside and hop on a competition build and just be on your schedule. So I felt kind of wrong to me, you know, just expecting this craziness, like, all right, this has to be done like right now, every day, like, you know, like it's got to be ready by this time. And, you know, you're kind of making people sacrifice other opportunities and stuff to be able to build your car. So I didn't really like that about using shops, but there were still a lot of people that helped out. Like last year, I took on my car, and my buddy Gary Lewis and Mikey Walsh and Moose that worked with Papadakis Racing for the past couple years. They were all lending a hand in 2019, helping me get the car ready. And we needed some last minute fabrication stuff, so we ended up taking the car over to One Motion in Pennsylvania. TJ did a really good job just fabbing some stuff up for us, like some bash bars and kind of like a new structure for the front of the car and radiator stuff. So definitely over the past couple of years, I've definitely had help from shops like every year. But once I knew that we were going to get into, you know, FD, I'm like, you know what, like I want my car, like so once I decided like, all right, we're going to build another car, I needed the knowledge of someone who's done it and knows exactly how to set up a car and build a car for this type of competing. So Brian Wilkerson and MA Motorsports is definitely the first come to mind. I've known O'Brien and them for a long time, and actually, when I first started doing the 2J stuff, I bought a winter's quick change from them, and actually bought my 4-speed dog box from them back in the day. And once I knew we were building this car, I hit up Brian. I said, "Hey, I have this chassis. I don't know how busy you are this off season, but I'm definitely building a pro car for Pro 2 this year, and if you're willing to get in on that with me, then we could do it." And he was all for it, and it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm really looking forward to having Brian on our side, just helping us out with all of his knowledge that he has, and not to mention he's such a cool dude, and he's really fun to hang out with and really smart, and not to mention his work ethic is insane, and everyone that works at MA Motorsports, they're so top notch. It's like an awesome family over there.
Yep. Yeah, MA's been around for a while. I'm from the East Coast originally too, like DC area, so I was always seeing cars at the drift events with MA stickers on them. MA Motorsports there, and then like my one of my built engines, the KA I have, actually was done by MA a long time ago, and that thing's still going. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's a sick shop. Brian's an awesome dude too.
Yeah, the stuff that they make is no joke. They take everything very serious, and it's awesome seeing parts that were made, early 2000s still on cars today. And I get a kick out of that. I'm like, I hope my car lasts forever. That's what I want. And that's why I told him too. I said, hey, I want this chassis. Like, I want to be able to crash this chassis and still drive it 2 weeks later. He was like, yep. He's like, I got you. So it's going to be very safe, and the chassis is totally designed to, beat the total shit out of it and then get to go racing the next day if we wanted to.
Yep. Yeah, because they did AJ's car last year, and AJ's car is a rocket ship.
Yep, his car is insane.
Yep, yeah. So that's cool. Did you figure out what you were going to say, Nate?
No.
No stuff.
We went in a total different direction, so I was like, shoot, oh well. Doesn't matter. Now I started. Yeah. And then
We could go wherever you want, man. Like I said, I got all night. We can talk about whatever you want.
Oh, you do? Don't tell Jelani you have all night, because it will be all night.
Oh yeah, most of these have been at least like 2 hours, and he's able to get like 2 episodes out of them because I like getting them really making sure people get to know you and not do it like so cheesy in the sense of like, hi, like,
right. Like me,
really,
where I'm like, hey, give that elevator speech, and then it's like, okay, everyone's heard this, but yeah, so like that's why I like having him on, because he like actually brings out the weird stuff out of people,
That's good.
Yeah, I want the tough questions, but I want the conversations you have on the 240SX pages on Facebook. Some kid just doesn't understand how you got to where you are. They don't know how the sponsorships work and how you guys maximize some of the opportunities that you're able to get into. So then when people can watch this stuff and they're like, oh, okay, so I want to get to where he is, and this is the path he took, and he started just like I did with an SR20. I didn't need to build a 2JZ right away. And this is why I should invest a little bit of money into making my car look good, and he's got apparel and stuff like that. I tell people that all the time, man. That stuff is so overlooked, but if you're really trying to put a program together, it starts ground zero, and then you carry it with you. And exactly. I've never met you in person, but I caught wind of you. People have brought you up to me, and I've seen the car circulate in Facebook, and I'm like, okay, this guy's he's doing what he needs to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah, it's really cool. Trying to help people out get an idea of what goes into it, and I've always tried to do that with anyone that needs help. And actually, this about a month ago, I had a whole stack of these driver proposals that I made for SEMA and for PRI, and I told people, I said, hey, if you want one, send me your address, I'll send it to you for free. So like anyone that wanted to get an idea of what goes into, kind of like promoting yourself and showing people who you are without them even having to meet you, that was a key point in getting people warmed up to the idea of like wanting to talk to you and see if you can make something work. And I actually sent out a bunch of them, and people were really happy about it. So I was really stoked to give back to some people in the community and try and help out. And some people, I've actually heard a lot of good feedback and people building their programs up. So super happy about that.
Yeah, because someone did that same thing for me, exactly what you did. And when we were trying to figure out sponsorships and stuff, and then I was lucky enough to be friends with Hurt before he got big with Hoonigan, and was watching his growth and stuff. And you really realize like it's really just a small groundwork, because the misconception with you will be is drifters aren't used to seeing people with access to resources, funds, money, big things like that. So to them, it's animosity first when they see that stuff. But and me coming from a real form of racing, I go to the track at IMSA. I know everyone here is freaking loaded. Duh. That's why they're here.
I got you.
You know, so like there's no animosity at the racetrack when you're at IMSA, because like, oh, that guy's only driving that car because, you know, his family owns an oil thing. And I'm like, yeah, that goes for every freaking body here. Like, it's IMSA. These cars cost $10 million, bro. Like, nobody went to freaking their local mom and pop store and got funding to do this. Nobody went to Njuku and got funding to do IMSA. Penske is Penske because of Penske trucking, you know? So someone's family owned a business, they're successful, and now they're taking advantage of it. That's life. But at the same time, in drifting, people can get to where you are without the stacker or without the S thing and without MA, but you're gonna have to put in the work. You know, and even people who are in your position have to put in the work, because you saw a guy went out and bought Tyler McCory's Camaro, and they had the semi and they had all the stuff too, and it didn't work out for them. You know, so even having all of those luxuries doesn't guarantee any type of longevity or success in the sport.
Dude, nothing is a guarantee. Even if you were loaded and you could crash a car every weekend, buy as many crew guys as you want, you know, people think that this money just makes everything easier, but sure, there's a lot of things that do come easier because you're able to support yourself like that, but that doesn't mean no work gets put into it. It doesn't mean like me, like being able to do what I do and, you know, having the stacker and, you know, having the car built by MA, you know, I mean, sure, we're in quarantine. I'm pretty much sitting on my ass, but you're not sitting on your ass. Like, you're networking. You're talking to all the people that you're working with for this year. You make sure everyone's happy with what you're doing, and you got to get parts together. You got to make sure you got your crew set up, and you got to make sure your hauler's ready. You're find a driver. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it when you keep stepping it up. So
exactly, and then now you have bigger expectations too.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw a guy, and Nate, you can use some of this stuff too. Like, it's a good conversation, even though it's kind of a little tangenty. But I saw a guy say something about Adam LZ, and he was like, why would Adam LZ be considered to drive a Pro 1 car when he had all of this stuff and he came out and flopped? And I'm like, dude, I think he got second at an event. He qualified first at another event, finished like 7th in points his first season in. And I'm like, that's a flop in Pro 2? Like 40 drivers and you did all that? I'm like, dude, that's a win, man.
A flop is you showing up to every round and not qualifying for a single one.
Yo, if you qualify every round first season in Pro 2, that's amazing, because we didn't even do that. And Adi didn't even do that.
That's definitely what I'm shooting for.
And those dudes were, by the time, and now like Donati and Garrett and them, these were the top guys. So they were in that top 10 bracket. So it's like, and it was in that top 10 bracket was competitive at the end of last year. That was top 10.
Yeah, it was real.
Good. So it's crazy to me that people were looking at it on the outside in, but then they looked at the status of Adam and what he came with, and then that clicked on me. I saw Matt Kaufman was doing a podcast with Maximum Driftcast, and he talked about getting rid of his big semi because that same thing happened. Like, people looked at him and they raised the bar of expectations because he had the semi, when really he's like, dude, I bought this semi for less than you could buy a new dually for. Like, it just made sense. Like, I got a semi, I have all of this room, I can bring everything I need to the track, and I could haul another driver and split costs.
Exactly.
You know, and you could get a whole retired racing rig for less than you can get a brand new Power Stroke like dually for. So he's like,
yeah, I mean, you know, you make a good point with the expectations and what people expect out of you by you showing up at the track and, you know, showing up with all this crazy stuff, hauler, crazy built new car and stuff like that. But at the same time, for anyone who's a driver, you know, we don't pay attention to those expectations. The only expectations we pay attention to are the ones that we set for ourselves. You know, exactly. I don't care to go out there and do how well people expect me to do, except for the people that help us. You know, the people who actually know me, and not to mention the companies that help us go racing and stuff. those are the only people I'm trying to meet their expectations because they put the effort into my program. So I'm trying to make sure everyone gets something out of it. I want to make sure everyone gets what they put in. So expectations, they're good. Sometimes when people have high expectations for a driver, you'll feel really good about it. They'll be like, oh, like I'll hear people like, oh, you're gonna go kill it at FD, and that makes me really happy. And seeing people thinking I'm gonna do really good, that gives me some reassurance. So I'm like, you know what, like I am gonna do good, even though I literally tell myself that all the time, because you got to be confident. You have to be confident 24/7. You have to tell yourself you're going to kill it every single event. And if you don't, you focus on the things that you learned, and you're going to be better at the next event.
Right. You can't be the timid action sports star. You can't, like this stuff's like super motocross. You can't roll up to the ramp like I'm going to throw a triple backflip. Like I might land this. I might break my neck. I don't know.
No, you're like, I'm going to land it.
I'm going to stick it. I'm going to stick this, And, confidence and cockiness is a fine line. You got to dance it. And sometimes you got to go over and be borderline cocky and just say, you know what, I got to go get it. But that's how you motivate yourself. That's how you motivate yourself. And you can't do it for anybody else other than yourself.
Yeah, I think the thing about, confidence and cockiness, you could be confident and someone might take that off as you being cocky. But at the same time, I feel like if you're confident, you could be as confident as you want, but you need to be respectful. Like, respect that there's other people there doing the same shit that you're doing. So don't walk up, tell them, like, you're going to fucking crush them and, like, they suck, or, talk shit about their car. Like, that's you just being a dick. Like, you're not confident. You're an asshole, Like, you can be confident to the full extent. But if you're respectful, you treat everybody with respect, and you're a nice guy, if someone still hates you for that, then they can go kick rocks, man. Because you have to be confident in a sport, and if someone tells me otherwise, they're completely wrong.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah. So it's weird. I see a lot of people who don't understand how much work goes into it. They just look at the programs and try to judge people based off of it. But it's like, regardless of where you're coming from, it takes a lot of hard work to have that total package put together and have it working smoothly. It doesn't matter the financial backing. It could be low finance, high finance. That same stress is still there. And it's not handed to anybody. Like, I haven't really seen anybody come through drifting, whether they're coming from small budget or big budget, and just really get it handed to them. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to the driver and the reliability of the car and trusting your crew and your sponsors and the people supporting you. And, you got to have that total package, It doesn't get handed to anybody.
There's one driver in the car, but it's a team sport.
Yeah, so when people see the success of people like you, they'll try to attest it to something else, but it's going to come from hard work no matter who it is,
Oh, yeah, exactly. I really appreciate when people actually respect that and they take that into consideration.
Well, it's a network, and people don't understand how close that Pro 2, especially field of drivers, is. Like, we created the Pro 2 Junction, you guys did, and that's where everybody can share information. It literally takes the whole paddock to keep everyone flowing. Like, when Rome messed his car up in Texas, it was all of the teams getting his car back together, not just him. And everyone sharing advice, and as we learn stuff, we share it to everyone, things like that. And it really takes, it's hard, man. People understand how hard it is. So even when you see that driver on the podium and stuff like that, it was him, it was his crew, it was his family, it was his sponsors, it was everybody else in the paddock.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting family bond because of that, which is one of the things that keeps me in it. Even when I'm helping one particular guy, we're all sharing messages and group chats and stuff, helping everybody else at the same time too.
Yeah,
so it's really cool. People don't understand how much work. Like, I remember when we got that second place podium in Texas, I was choked up because Nate knows how much it took to make that happen. And that's when you see Chelsea. Chelsea was tearing up when he had that hard sweep at Long Beach, and he pretty much had the hardest bracket you could draw. All of the ex-Pro 1 champions, everything, and on a privateer budget, he gets first place at Long Beach. It's crazy, like, it's an emotional roller coaster to get there. Even with the budget, even without the budget, it doesn't matter,
Yeah, you could have all the money in the world, but you're still going to stress, and there's a lot of emotion that goes into this. You could be stressed one day, happy the next day, but I could tell you 110%. I've pretty much been stressed every day of my life since I started competing. So it's a lot goes into it. Whether it's easy or hard for you to go do what you want to do, it's still a very mental game. It's huge mental thing, and that's one of the main things I focus on all year. Is just keeping my shit together and just doing the best by my team and for myself, and keeping that confidence up, and not letting little things get to me. So I really, going back on like people expecting stuff and people trying to match you up to other drivers and compare and talk shit or something like that. I really don't focus on any of that. And for anyone that's listening that's doing competing and the same thing I am, just focus on yourself and take care of your team and your family, because those are the people that are going to be with you when you're sucking at the track, crashing your car, and then when you're on podium. As long as you keep those people, as long as you take care of those people, they'll be with you the whole way.
You definitely find out who your friends are when it's time to put in those 3 all-nighters, get your car ready for the next event after you wadded it up.
Yeah.
Who's there at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, it's
like crap.
It's tough for me to like ask people to do shit like that. It's really heartwarming when people are just like, all right, we're getting it done. My guys last year, like Gary and Mikey, they really helped out so much, and Moose coming in whenever they could in the shop. I was building my car in Gary's shop at his house, and I live in New York, and the car was in Jersey, so it was crazy to see, like, you really didn't have to ask. Like, they knew what you're getting yourself into, and they were willing to do it. Like, I was living out of my truck for weeks in Jersey, and I was just saying this last night on the other podcast that, like, we finished my car the day that we were at Dominion on Friday with 30 minutes to spare with practice, and I went out for my first practice run, and a dude's car caught on fire, and they shut the track down for the first day. So I was like, we got no practice. We're just gonna have to go race, But it's a lot of work goes into it, and you're totally right. It really shows you the people that want to see you succeed, and if you don't appreciate that, that shit's gonna walk away from you. So if you got something like that, anybody who's like listening to this podcast, if you have something like that where you got your crew, hold on to your damn crew, because those guys are going to be your best friends forever as long as you take care of them. You give them the same respect that they give you all the time, and that's how you build a family. And I'm lucky enough to say that I've gotten a family out of drifting, and I'm super appreciative for that.
So while you touched on New Dominion, how did you like that track?
Dominion's awesome. So I actually went out there when my car was SR20 powered for an event with Koguchi. So Matt Predmore from Quickstop Motorsports had Koguchi come out and stay with him, and they hosted an event at Dominion, and we went out there, and the track was beautiful. It was freshly paved, super grippy, and really nice. Like, it was like a big oval track with huge grandstands and stuff, and then they just have a road course around it, and it was just a really nice facility. And I was hyped when US Drift announced that they were racing there, so we had a really good time.
Yeah, because that guy used to have a different track that was closer in the town, I guess, and they bought him out of it to build more subdivisions and stuff like that. And then he took that money and went and built that facility. And drifting was really big at the previous track, so he wanted to build something that the drifters were gonna like. So that was kind of cool that he did that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
go ahead.
Before we move too far into the money stuff, something really cool that I wanted to point out that I've kind of noticed is that drifting doesn't seem to care a whole lot about money. You don't, like a lot of other forms of motorsport, you can tell usually someone with the most money in their car, they're a little faster or something like that, where you see a lot of the motorsports where money is a big factor on success of certain teams. But in drifting, it seems to be a completely even field. Even if because people, if it was the fastest car, AJ Muss would have won last year in Pro 2, but he didn't.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
So it comes down to so many different aspects, and a lot of it's obviously driving, and the team and the crew and the whole aspect of it. And I was just going to reiterate that point to where drifting is unique in that aspect, where it really doesn't matter a whole lot on money compared to a whole lot of other sports where it seems to be a much bigger factor, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of you just have to pay attention to all your resources. You know, you got, like we were saying, you got your crew, you got the car and stuff like that. As long as you put the money that you have and the money that you can get together, you put it in the right places, you'll continue to do good. And trust me, I want nothing more for the guys who have to, you know, they're going paycheck by paycheck to get their cars ready for this stuff. I always wish those guys the best. And there's so many drivers out there that are so talented, and you know, I've seen it plenty of times. You got people that are similar to like cars like of mine, like, you know, the money is put into it. They got all the fancy stuff to go along with it and their own crew. And you know, I've seen dudes who literally came with their dad and their brother, and they literally go out there and they shut it down. They literally make these like a professional team showing up pretty much, and they shut them down. So it's very humbling that you can't just show up with a wad of cash and walk out with the win.
No.
So that makes me really happy for the sport. And, you know, that, I mean, obviously people that have more money in the program, their resources will probably be a little bit better than others, but, you know, it's really just about knowledge. And, you know, as long as you're learning and, you know, making sure that your car is, you know, able to do rounds and events without breaking down, and you have that knowledge and know how to set up your car, I wouldn't be surprised if someone with a very minimal dollar program could win every event. You know, it's really not a shock to me when people do really good with minimal stuff. And it just shows you don't need crazy shit to go do it. So if anyone's trying to get into it and they think they have to be this big wig with all this crazy shit, you don't. You know, you can just get into it. Just bare minimum, just buy the parts that really make it count, and, you know, you'll do just as good as the rest of the field.
Yep, Travis Reeder's car is a good example. That car is really basic, and it was really basic back when he was in Pro 2 along with Dylan. Like, both of those cars are pretty much identical. Yeah, they didn't have too much craziness about them. They were just really two good, consistent drivers with reliable cars. They had a big knowledge base around them, obviously, with them helping out pro drivers. So I think the benefit more there for them than budget was knowledge. So they were able, like you said, to maximize the money that they did have to get two good packages that were very effective and got the job done. And,
exactly.
And that's the perfect example of it, pretty much. So yeah, I just want people to. I don't want people to discourage themselves away from trying to go after some of these goals and stuff. A good amount of stuff, you could definitely do it. Don't attest someone's success to just the big things that you see.
Exactly.
These dudes are putting in the same amount, if not twice as much work to keep that together. It's like you said, that stacker is a whole other thing, but a whole other thing to maintain and make sure and have all of the stuff inside of it that you need. It's easier to forget stuff the more space you have.
Dude, the damn hauler needs its own team, not let alone the race car. You know, it's insane.
The crazy thing is I didn't realize the more space you have, the easier it is to forget stuff. When you only have to load a pickup bed up, it's easy to know something's missing because it's not jam packed. You're like, wait, I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, when you get the damn label maker out. Get the damn label maker out and label every single cabinet and label all your tools, and you know, it gets a little messy at times, but you know, it is a little. It's kind of like, you can lose stuff in there and lose track of where you're putting stuff, but at the same time, it's kind of more opened up, so it's not super cluttered, and you're not like cringing looking at everything. You're like, okay, everything has its own space. I just need to remember what that space is.
Right. So are you gonna roll solo with your rig, or are you gonna try to pack two programs in there?
So I'm pretty sure we are packing two programs in there. My car will be in there, and I believe we'll be driving Blake Olson's car around.
Okay. Blake's solid, dude.
Oh, yeah, Blake's the man. Blake actually was a huge successor to us doing well in 2019. So we went to Sonoma, and he met us out there. And he literally told me, he's like, all right, I'm bringing my scales. I'm bringing all my stuff. He's like, we'll scale your car, do counterbalancing, do the alignment, get you ready to go. And I swear to God, that car has never driven that good. So I was like, all right. I was like, this is important. We got to do this every event.
Yeah, people don't understand the value of the alignment and balance of the car.
Yep.
It's so good. I've made, like I said, I've been doing like string alignments and like basic simple setups of just homies' cars out of the shop when we got free time. And I went to LS Fest. There was a guy down there. Him and Stu, I both helped out at LS Fest. And I've just gave people little tweaks and little alignment changes and little things, and they'll come back and say, dude, I've put so much money into my car trying to get it to drive good, and those 2 little tweaks like changed it the most out of anything. And I'm like, dude, you really gotta sit down and fine tune those alignments.
Exactly. That's what, going back on what we said, it's all about the knowledge, dude. You can have the craziest car, but if you don't set up right, you're gonna drive like shit. Even if you're a good driver. A good driver you can take a good driver, put him in a shit car, he'll do a lap, but I bet you he'll hate it. And it'll be nothing like him driving in one of his good cars, you know?
Exactly. Because
everybody's frustrating.
Everyone's had to crash their car or hit something and had to slap it back together real quick and drive it with a crap alignment, and
Oh, you're like, oh, yeah, this thing feels like a bag of shit. Like, this is literally a bag of dog crap with wheels on it.
Yeah, well, that's cool to find out you and Blake are working together. Blake's solid, man.
Yeah, Blake's a great dude. He helped us in Sonoma, and, you know, he was definitely a great successor to us getting the win out there. He was actually supposed to be my spotter, and this is a pretty funny story. So Blake drove from Vegas to Sonoma and met us out there, and we stayed in the hauler together. And first day of practice, it went really well. And he brought me up to the top of my hauler. We have a little observation deck. It's so beautiful in Sonoma. We were literally just taking it in as much as we could. We're sitting on top of the stacker, and he's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you." I was like, "Oh God, this isn't good." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What's broken on the car?" I was like, "Tell me right now, we'll get it fixed." He's like, "No, the car's good." He's like, "I have to leave." I was like, "What do you?" It's like, "What do you mean you have to leave?" He's like, "So my job just called me, and they moved my flight because he was flying to, I think he was flying to Chicago or somewhere for work, for like Chevy or something." And he's like, "Dude," he's like, "they moved my flight." He's like, "I literally need to drive home right now, and I need to fly out in the morning." And I was like, "Dude," I had no idea what I was gonna do. I was like, "We need a spotter. Like, I need a spotter." So my girlfriend literally walks up to me. So we're all up there together, and she's like, "I'll be your spotter." And I was like, "Fuck." I was like, "All right, babe. Well," I was like, "we're gonna have to do it. You know, I've got good seat time, and you know, I'm gonna hope for the best tomorrow, and you know, I'll be nice. I won't yell at you like over the comp, because you know you're in a different headspace. It's easy to get frustrated when you're in the car, but we killed it, and she was actually so good on the radio. She literally was giving me tips on the drivers I was going against, and you know, giving me tips on the layout of the track, and you know, she actually had a really solid knowledge to give, and I literally couldn't have done it without her helping me out on Saturday. She literally had no headset on, just had the radio, and they told me like the way that the battle ended, you know, for me to lose the first place battle, I would have had to get beaten twice because the person that was battling me was from the losers bracket and I was in the winners bracket. So when we didn't go a second round and they're like, "We have a winner," I knew that we won because he would have had to beat me twice. So I was literally on the radio and I was screaming in my helmet. I was like, "We fucking did it! We fucking won! Like, this is crazy!" And she's telling me, she's like, "Everyone in the stands is cracking up because I don't have my headset in. They just all hear you screaming over the radio right now." But it was such a great experience. It was back on having Blake out there, and you know, it was great. Blake also came out to Vegas Drift in Colorado, and we did really good there. We had some car troubles that you know, we handled like a real professional team, so I was hyped on that. We just didn't get the finish we were looking for, but we were consistent and we had a lot of fun. So,
that's cool, man. That's gonna be a good pairing. Two good looking cars too, man. Blake's car's got a lot of black on it too.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not really like a team because he's dedicated to his the people that he's working with in his program, but
right.
You know, I told him, I was like, I'll definitely have space in the hauler, you know. And the way it was going was East Coast in the beginning of the season, then we're making our way like middle of the country for like St. Louis, and then we're going to Sonoma. So I was like, come out to Orlando. I'll bring your car with me back to New York, and then we'll do Englishtown. Oh, excuse me. And then we'll go from I'll bring your car from Englishtown to St. Louis, and then either you pick it up in St. Louis or I'll bring it to California. But yeah, so we're still trying to figure it out because all the scheduling stuff that's going down right now. But yeah, I think it'll be really good. And not to mention he's a really good dude, and he's got a really awesome program, and his car is batshit crazy. So, I'm not too focused on us being a team, but I'm focused on, just lending a helping hand and just making sure that he does good because I know he'd want the same for me.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. That's a good setup. That's pretty cool. So if you could drive one other series worldwide, what would it be?
One other series worldwide. To be honest with you, I really would love to get into racing like trucks, like Baja 1000 and the Mint 400.
That'd be sick.
When I was in Vegas for SEMA, I was talking to Blake, and I was like, hey, I want to rent like a trophy truck and go do that. And he actually told me to go to this place. It's called Speed Vegas, and they have these. It's almost like a stadium truck. It's like a smaller truck with a crazy suspension on it, and they had a whole circuit, a whole dirt circuit with jumps and everything. And I did this, dude. I swear to God, it was the funnest thing I have ever done besides drifting. I literally could have did it all day. I was jumping this truck like 100 feet. I was like, this is the craziest shit I've ever done.
It's funny you said that because isn't like Vaughn getting into that?
Yeah, Vaughn does the Mint 400, and I'm pretty sure.
There's another driver too. I thought
Does Matt do it? Matt Field, he drives. I'm pretty sure he drives like a trophy truck too sometimes.
Yeah, I think Matt and his dad come from like off-road racing because I think Matt's credited with bringing the whole rear mount radiator stuff in the FB.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I think so. Don't quote me. That's cool. Yeah, you got anything, Nate?
Yeah. So
I know you had some more lined up.
Yeah, but no, I'm enjoying the conversation though. I'm just sitting here
listening, me too.
Learning.
Well, I had one more.
All right.
To make it spicy.
Here we go.
Is there anybody currently in Pro 2 that has a target on them that you would love to do battle with?
All of them.
There's gotta be that one driver you're like, man, I want to get not because you think you can beat them, just like it's gonna be an epic battle, like your styles match up.
Or just someone you like to drive with that you have.
Someone you like to drive with.
Mm-hmm.
Without going into it and sounding like a dick, there's been a couple drivers that, I would love to just literally just drive into their door and just have kick their ass on the track,
But you sound like a dick.
That's just racing, you can see people out there and it puts some motivation in me. So I take it as a positive. I'm like, you know what? Like I would love to go run that dude and like run his door the whole track and take a win. But, talking about just driving with people, I really don't have a set target on anyone. There's a lot of drivers out there that I would love to drive against just because I know they're really good drivers. Obviously I want to drive against Blake because I know once we hop out of the car, we're going to be cracking up laughing and high-fiving. And not to mention, I got a lot of dudes from the East Coast that I'm really close with that are coming out. We got Ricky Hoffman and Steve Misko. Those two guys, they've been shredders forever, and we hung out a lot, and we keep that East Coast family bond really close. So we were actually just joking about it the other night, and I was like, hey, first one to hit each other's door, like I'll print out stickers and I'll put, like, if I told Ricky and Steve, I said, if I hit one of your doors before you hit mine, I'll put a sticker of my face on it. And they're like, deal. Same goes for us. I was like, all right. So it's just some friendly competition inside a big competition. I'm
hyped for it.
Yeah, I'm super hyped.
Versus Adam.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I definitely want to versus Adam.
S15s, 2Js, sequentials, dog boxes.
Yeah.
Both are probably going to be looking pretty good. That's going to be if that matching happens, that's going to be good.
I'm sure it will. It gets me really excited to get paired up with people who are consistent and good. Because, in the Pro-Am stuff, not to talk shit on any drivers, but there's people that, they're having a rough time at the track and they're still in competition, and you get paired up with somebody that you're not too comfortable really being on their door because they could make a slight correction or something like that could cost both of you. So anytime I get paired up with someone that's consistent, I'm like, all right, cool, now I get to turn my shit up to 11 and I can drive as hard as I want, and I know these guys are going to hold their line. So thinking of Adam, he's definitely come a long way in 1 year of drifting Pro 2, and as long as he's still in Pro 2, which I believe he is, I would love the chance to race him. Whether I do good or not, it would definitely be one for the books. And obviously I'm a racer, so obviously I want to kick his ass, but it's just But if I were to pick somebody, he would definitely be at top of the list to drive against, just because it seems like it would be a blast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing, I feel like, man, as an up and coming driver, I'd be hyped to go against Adam just because he brings that media package with him. So you're going to be on his YouTube channel. Like, my first battle I had to go against blah 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 blah. You're like, at me, fool, at me.
Yeah. Adam's a really cool dude. I seen him at Hyperfest, and I was like, hey, what's good? I gave him some shirts, and he actually ended up wearing one of my shirts in his YouTube video, and I was super grateful for that. I was like, getting a bunch of people, they're like, yo, he's wearing your shirt, and I was like, oh, sick. Like, it's so weird for me because I don't get that. Like, what do you call that when you meet someone that's famous?
Yeah, fanboy.
Yeah, like
fanboy hard.
Yeah, fanboying. Like, I come from BMX, and I actually had the chance. I was living in California for a year. I got to meet like all my favorite BMX riders and all these big name pros at the time, and I wasn't really like shocked. I was just more super grateful to be able to hang out with them, and I realized they're all just normal people, and I decided that I don't really look like, this might sound weird and maybe conceited or cocky, but I don't really like to look up to people as like idols, like, because if I idolize someone, then I'm thinking they're greater than me. So this is where this may sound cocky, but I don't ever want to sell myself short looking up to somebody like, oh, like they're so good, and like, I hope one day I can be that good. It's more of like he's sick, he seems like a cool dude, like I want to be as good as him, I want to beat him. Like that's
exactly
like it's like the thing, like your idols become your rivals. Like that's what I want. Yeah. So it's hard for me to idolize people. It's more of like, I do look up to some people just as like, their knowledge and stuff that I want to learn from them. But at the same time, I don't freak out when I get to meet somebody that I've thought is cool for a long time and thought what they're doing is great. It's more like I kind of focus on what they're doing, and I want to like emulate their success, and I want to do the same thing they're doing.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It's not like I idolize it, and I feel like I just don't want to ever sell myself short. So it's like I'm kind of just getting ideas from them, and I'm like, this is what being successful is, and I'm going to try and do that as well.
Right. I definitely fanboy for people. I'm like, man, this guy's so cool. But same thing though. I feel like you should always want to strive to be better than the people you look up to. Like you can idolize Michael Jordan, but you also want to be like Kobe and like try to step over Michael Jordan and like
exactly
and do that. So you should always, because the next generation should always want to raise the bar, like because you'll idolize you have kids who idolize their dad as a race car driver, but your goal is, my dad got 3, I'm getting 5.
Exactly. And that really pushes the sport too. So that's something that I really believe in. You always want to do better than the people that are doing good. At least that's a smart way to think.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think
Go
ahead, you're fine.
Oh, are we staying the same topic? Because I was going to change directions.
You can change topics. Go for it.
You can do whatever you want, man.
All right. So I always ask this in all of my podcasts. I think I've asked everyone this is, so when you get started out, what's something that you would change, and what's the biggest thing that people miss that you see?
What you mean, like what's the biggest thing that like goes on behind the scenes that people don't really get to experience?
No, like when you get started out, what was something that helped you, or you think people miss out on that would help them when they're getting started drifting?
Well, I really don't look back and say like, oh, I should have done this or that, because I constantly just try and focus on the future instead of dwelling on the past. But getting into drifting, I feel like I was set up pretty good, and I focused on having a reliable car that I get a lot of seat time in. So my main advice to anyone who's getting into drifting and just starting out, just make sure your car is simple. And like, even if you're going to get crazy with suspension and and like stuff like that, it's like only get crazy where you'll actually benefit from it. Don't do it to impress anybody. Like, you don't got to be cool when you're first starting out drifting. Like, learn how to drive, and like, if you're going out there for people to notice you, people will eventually start to notice you because you're doing well. But at the same time, I would hope that anyone who's getting into drifting is doing it for their own, just because they want to do it, not because they're looking for that fame or, the exposure that comes with, stepping it up and doing professional styled stuff. But yeah, just keep it simple. anyone from Club Loose or East Coast will always tell you that. Keep it simple. Get a lot of seat time because that's the main thing that you will benefit from. And just invest in strong parts because the more seat time you get, the better you're going to be. And, you'll gain a lot of knowledge. And eventually you'll learn how to work on your car, too, because shit does break.
So have you invested in a sim rig yet? Because I just now made this investment like weeks ago.
I'm actually literally sitting next to mine right now.
Oh, let me see what you got.
Let me see. So, if I can show you, can you see it?
Ooh.
So
yeah.
I
see that fan attack.
Yeah. So I just moved in here. So this is my unfinished office that I have right now because I just moved in. But yeah, I built my sim about I'd say about 2 months ago. It's been great. It's really good for the driving, but at the same time, some cars really don't drive like real cars. So you got to find that balance where it feels really realistic because I don't want to get into a habit of making bad habits with a Seto Corsa like sim rigging compared to real life driving. My PC just broke the other day, so I'm kind of not being able to drive right now, which is the bummer, especially in quarantine.
Yeah, I made the sim investment like 2 weeks ago, and my stuff showed up last week, so I did the same thing. I went off fan attack, and I got
I seen the photos that you posted up with like the center console and shit, dude.
Yeah,
that's so sick.
Yeah, I got a 240 outside, so I'm taking all the dimensions off the 240
Hell yeah.
and trying to make it as realistic as possible with the cockpit. But that's the same thing. The seat time. I realized this season I was going to try to build a car and get back into it. And obviously, amongst all of the things going on, I don't think there's going to be a lot of seat time afforded this season because I feel like there's going to be a lot of dudes with cars that are ready to go, ready to register for events as soon as they start coming again. So it's going to be the scramble to get into these events too. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just take my time with the build, and then I'll focus on getting some sim time as well while I'm refining the car and taking my time with that. But yeah, seat time is definitely key. I'm so happy for all these dudes that have sims, that have access to them. Because that'd have been crazy in my era, been able to have something so realistic and get that much seat time on. I'm looking at all these guys that are doing it and watching the progression happen like 3 times as fast as it happened for me. So that's pretty cool. Technology is an amazing thing. So
yeah, it's wonderful. The only problem I have is every car that I drive in the game is right-hand drive. I can't find a left-hand drive car, but I'm actually a good friend of mine, Jeremy. He's actually building me a car for a Seto, and he's making a left-hand drive S15 for me. So it's gonna be sweet. It'll be literally my car in the Seto, so I'm excited for that.
That'd be cool. Nice. Any big sponsors and stuff that you linked up with? Anybody you could talk about?
Yeah, I haven't done a hard media, anything super
official,
public, super official and public yet, which I like to do for all of our partners, just so their announcement, doesn't go unheard of. The announcement doesn't go unheard of. But I'm not keeping secrets. We're working with a lot of great people this year. We got there's a couple that I'm very excited about. Just to name a couple off the top of my head, we're working with Turbo Smart this year, which is awesome. They're super nice over there. My buddy Rich, he's been awesome helping me out all year with getting parts ready. We're working with Nitrous Express, so they're another good one. OMP Racing, which is OMP's been a favorite of mine ever since I started racing, and I've always had their wheels in my car, so I was had the opportunity of talking to one of the head guys over there during PRI, and it just we hit it off. He ended up just deciding to help me out this year, so super hyped on that. We're working with a bunch of cool people this year. It's I wish my brain wasn't like scrambled eggs, because if I had my list in front of me, I'd be able to tell you all of them. But we're still working with Quickstyle Motorsports, and not to mention MA Motorsports. That's the number one, sponsor that I'm excited about, because our partnership, can make really big things happen. So I'm super excited for that.
That's cool.
But yeah, dude, I mean, even the people that I didn't even mention, I'm just so grateful that these companies will be willing to, put in that effort and help support us and help us go racing, because that means the world to me. And building that partnership up is just, it's very important to me, and I take it as serious as possible. You know,
Matt,
it's like the drifting. Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah. He's been helping me ever since I started drifting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I love this S15.
So have you noticed major changes in drifting in general since you've started?
You know, it was like when I started, it was, you know, it was when drifting was already huge, and you know, it just gets bigger and bigger every year. The only thing that I see that I don't like is people kind of getting into it for the wrong reasons and stuff like that. That's the only negative thing that I've ever seen in drifting that I don't really like. Mm-hmm. But I really haven't noticed anything too much other than the fact that I see more and more people are enjoying the idea of competing. Yeah. And we get to see a lot of serious cars in Pro-Am and Pro 2. So,
well,
you know,
I think
like
the
Pro
money's
2 now,
coming too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger. So people partnering up with FD and drivers, it's huge, and it's just going to help us grow the sport. So that's super important. That's also really exciting. But I just think it's crazy that some of these Pro 2 cars are now capable of running Pro 1. You know, it's just one flip of a switch. You know, they can, if they have the driving capabilities, they can definitely keep up with the field in Pro 1, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy to just see all the different stuff and whatnot. But you got any like final thoughts, Jelani?
No, I think we covered everything pretty well. I think people have a good idea.
Yeah, we covered a good amount.
I think if people have a good idea what they're getting into with this guy and what he's going to bring to the table and stuff, he's got a good head on his shoulders. So
exactly,
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I just take, you know, this is kind of like the only thing I do, and I'm really trying to make something for myself out of it, and you know, I take it really seriously. So I hope that anyone that's been listening to this, they, you know, either they get some more confidence under their belt, or they take their drifting or their program a little bit more serious, because you know, I'm a true believer that we really need to be professional at all times with this sport, and I really want to see it reach new lengths. You know, I want to be able to live as a race car driver in FD. It's, you know, it's working out for a couple of people right now, which is awesome to see. But, you know, I think as the sport keeps growing, you'll see more and more people being able to do that. You know, I'm not looking to get rich off of racing. I just want to be able to race for free. That's always been my goal. I just want to show up and drive. That's it.
As long as it's sustainable, as long as I can somewhat exist and be okay, then I'm happy. I'm not really banking on the true retirement, whatever people think that is. I'll probably just like work until like more.
Dude, drifting, yeah, doing what we do now is like retirement. This is what people would want to do after they've been working for all their lives. You know, we enjoy what we do. Not to mention anyone who retires, they miss work. They just go pick a hobby and they bust their ass doing their hobby. You know, this is a hobby that we love to do, and you know, some people have the opportunity to turn it into their job and their real life. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I think we are capable of getting there. I think it'll take some time, but you know, I'm really looking forward to the future of racing and competing in Formula Drift, and you know, like I was saying before, meeting more people and expanding my family even bigger.
Well, congrats on the new place, man.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to getting everything set up here so I can stop stressing about all of it.
Well, now you got some time to, you know, get it all together. Sounds like.
Yes, that I do.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the fitting from MA. That's going to be.
Dude, I am unbelievably excited for this car, and we actually have a lot of really fun stuff planned for this year alongside FD. So people can definitely expect a lot of cool stuff coming their way from us, especially, you know, I mean, obviously we're going to have a blast at FD, and I want to do stuff with people at FD, but we're doing a lot of cool stuff outside of FD this year that I haven't really talked about yet. Can't really talk about it now, but there will be some media being posted about it soon. So,
well, you got to give out your little shout outs, and I was going to say, where can people find you at? But apparently no one can see what you're doing this year because it's, you know.
I mean, definitely. definitely keep in touch with us and definitely follow what we're doing because you obviously want to be front row when we announce what we're doing this year.
Right. So where can they find you at, though?
So for Instagram, I'm Mike Power Drift on Instagram. Also, I do have a YouTube channel, and that's Power Racing. I do have a Twitter and a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Mike Power Racing. But I'm not too big on Twitter, but for anyone that wants to keep in touch with us, Instagram is definitely a way to go for right now, and YouTube. So Mike Power Drift on Instagram, and you'll definitely be first to know what we have going on. Not to mention, once the car's done and all the sponsors we're working with this year, there's a lot of cool stuff coming.
Hey guys, if you guys are still watching this, I think we're at like 2.5 hours or something like that, 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. I'm sure some of this will get cut out, maybe not, who knows. But we had a good time here. If you had a good time as well, please subscribe or share or like or don't like. I don't really care at this point. We're just having a good time.
Oh man.
But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I guess we'll see you next time, which hopefully will be soon. Actually, I got one scheduled for tomorrow, so guess we'll see who that is. But yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.